Hi everybody! So I'm just going to continue where we left off, creating a little pumpkin doll designed by Jess Davies, also known as CraftLover17 on Instagram. Now in part 2, I gave you the band count for the caramel for her hair. Just so you know, it's 108 bands right here. And these are the supplies that you're going to need to complete her. I've added a little basket at the end of this video, so if you wanted to do that, you're going to need 6 small E-beads. These are the orange color, and 6 with green. Just use a 3.6 millimeter seed bead. If you don't have the eyes, I'm going to show you with bands, and if you do have the safety eyes, use a 12 millimeter or smaller. So I'm going to continue, and I do hope you enjoy. Now what I'm going to ask you to do is invent some stitches. Because I didn't do the pattern exactly what Jess gave me because I didn't know how I was going to teach you how to do it, this is the part where we're going to get stuck at. It's not as hard as what I'm going to make it out to be, but what I do want you to do is invent 19 stitches. So we're going to use 19 bands, and we're going to do slip knots evenly around the bottom stitches. Because you can't clearly see stitches at the bottom, you're going to evenly spread them out. So in order to do that without messing up, you're going to do little slip knots. Just don't pull too hard, and then we will grab them and crochet around. So if you kind of just get the idea of what I'm doing, I'm going to fix down here and I'm going to evenly spread 19 bands around. So starting at the bottom here, and this way, if it doesn't look nice and even, you can just undo the little slip knot. So that's why I don't pull it too hard. So I'm just going to bring it through bottom bands and give it a tiny little tug. And kind of flatten it out. So you're going to see some little stitches around, and that way you can see if it's evenly placed around, and you can kind of go back and add some more if you have a space or you've run out of room, or you've got to the end and you didn't think, hey, I could have put a band through that little loop. So I do apologize, like I really apologize, but this is how we're going to continue with our hair. So just going around and kind of just finding little spots to add your 19 bands. So I flatten it out, and I'm seeing little stitches that could be a possible good placement. Remember, you do have little slip knots at the bottom, so not every little stitch that you see will be great or a good spot to add them. So just so you can see, this is what I did. 19 bands kind of evenly spread around. And just kind of just putting it flat. Kind of just grabbing a little chain that's closest to the bottom. Now I've already practiced, so maybe you just want to kind of watch to see what I'm doing. And then there's just 3 more parts after that we're going to do. That will be just a lot easier. So I have 3 more bands, and I'm just going to concentrate on 3 more spots. So I evenly placed 13, just hiding my slip knot, 19, I evenly placed 19 bands around. And I'm just going to make sure and so that gives you an idea. Now you're going to grab the 19 bands and you're going to slide. So just grabbing around and sliding. This is what it would look like if you just crocheted in nicely evened little stitches. That one came undone. So this is what you should have. Now, if you do have any that is really loose, just kind of loosen them up by grabbing the little slip knot that you created and just loosening it up. So right now, when you're doing not a complete round, you don't count the band that's on your hook. So you use an extra band, but when you're counting the stitches, you should have 18. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. Now for round 2 of this bottom part of the hair, I recommend using a stitch marker. So if you have that around, add it to the band that's around your hook. Now the pattern's going to be 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. 2 single crochets followed by an increase. You're going to repeat this 6 times. Now I am going to do a reverse stitch, so I'm going to go from the bottom of the head towards the top. And I'm going to go through the chain that my band is coming out of. And I'm going to do my first single crochet. So bring it through the chain on your hook and then slide. The next stitch, single crochet. And your third chain, you're going to do your increase, adding 2 bands. Back in. And then repeat 1, 1, 2. You're just doing this all the way until you get to your stitch marker, or sorry, to the end. I have 3 chains left, 1, 2, and 3 sections left. Oh, I just grabbed for my increase, sorry. And the last stitch with 2. And if you have a stitch marker handy, you can add one to the last band that's on your hook. So just to start you off here, you should have 24 stitches. I failed to say that before. You should have 24 stitches. When you're doing a straight line back and forth, you're never counting the band that's on your hook. Just for future reference if you are trying to follow a crochet pattern. So what I'm going to do now is do a reverse. So I'm going to go from the bottom of the head towards the top. And I'm going to work backwards, starting in the band that's where my band is coming out of. The pattern is going to be an increase followed by 2 single crochets. Increase, 2 single crochets. Increase, 2 single crochets. You're repeating that 7 times. Your last 3 sections, your last 3 chains, 1, 2, and 3 is going to be increase, single crochet, increase. So let's not worry about that. Let's do our section here. So the first band, our first chain, do an increase, adding 2 bands. Back in. And now 2 single crochets in the next 2 chains. Repeat 2, 1, 1. And then repeat again. And repeat. And repeat 3 more times. So I'm down to my last 3 chains, and this is the pattern. 2, increase, single crochet, increase. So this is what it looks like. And you could remove the stitch marker that you have and add it to the band that's around your hook, and we have 1 more row to go. So for round 4, our last round of the hair, we're going to do 33 slip stitches in every chain. Let me just move this up. I have 33 bands, 10, 20, 30, and 3. So you can go ahead, starting where your band is coming from, you're just going to reach in and just do a slip stitch. So bring it through all of the loops, grab your end and side. The next, through all of the loops and side. All the way to the end. Your last band, you're just going to pull tighter to tie it off. Through all of the loops. I think this one, that would have been my stomach growling. I think this one is pretty straightforward. And the last one, my stitch marker fell off, so that's okay. I can't find my chain here. So my last chain, still the slip stitch, you're just going to pull tighter. And this is what you should have. Now you want to hide this piece, so just go through some of your chains, probably through the bottom, and you want to just pull your slip stitch or your slip knot through. Now we're going to do the eyes, and you want to remove your stuffing. Sorry, I just went ahead and removed the stuffing to do the eyes, and then after you're done, you're going to put the stuffing back inside. Sorry, I kind of did that in advance. So if you're doing the safety eyes, you can go ahead and attach those. If you're doing the bands, what you want to do is pick the color of your eye, and you want to find the placement. Now for the eyes, you're going to use 3 of the stitches here, so you want to find proper placement. So if I use 1, 2, and 3 for one eye, skip a hole, 1, 2, and 3, then maybe my eyes can go there. So what I mean about skipping or using the 3 holes is if I go through and bring my 2 blue bands through. I'm going to skip the middle stitch, so just bringing it through. And I want to skip this middle stitch and go to the 3rd stitch right beside. So I skipped a stitch and I brought it through the 3rd stitch over. And I'm going to tie this off, and I'm going to use a white band. And just tie it in the back. And you can just fix those flat. So your next eye, if you skip a hole, you can go use these 3 stitches over here. So find your placement where you'd like to put the eyes. The next thing what I'm going to do is, I don't have another white band in front of me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through that same stitch that we went through, and I'm going to bring a black band through and go through the same hole that I went through before. And bring it through. Trying to keep one end on either side of the blue. And it's just a matter of fixing after. So I don't have another white band, so I'm just going to use this brown band that I have in front of me so you can get the point. And tie it off. Now what you're going to do is just bring one of the black bands on either side. And you're just going to have to bring it through and just fix it up. But again, I think you'll get my point. And take a black band if you want to make an eyelash, just to be, just to give it a little bit more of a look, and create an eyelash by tying a slip knot to the top black band, going from the top down to the bottom of the face and just fixing up the tension. You could just play around with that a little bit, and then you can just cut the eyelash, not too short and not too long, and have your eye. And you can do that to the other side. With the safety eyes, I'm just going to take my time to find a placement, and I literally am just going to cut these bands off. Fix up the tension that I just created and find my placements. And I think I'm going to go about there, and then just put my backings on. And then you can just go ahead and add your stuffing back inside. And remember, when you're adding the stuffing, you don't want to see any of the gaps in between. And she has this base at the bottom, which is what we want to maintain. So just move the stuffing around. And if you did mess up any of the tension, please, with your hook, just take your hook and grab the little knots around so you can kind of relieve some of this tension around. And keeping this base flat. Now, if you did want to add a mouth, which I don't have any colors in front of me, I'm going to use an orange. You could just go through 3 of the stitches at the bottom. I might do this at the end after, when we're done, just so I know where we have to sew. So you could do that and then just do a little slip knot and tie it. But I think I will add that on later when I'm complete. Now we're going to attach the head to the body. When looking at the body, you want the head to be proportioned with the body. You don't want this massive head. I am just going to remove a little bit of the stuffing just to have more of a proportion. And that should be okay. Now you have more stitches on the body than you do on the head, and you have a couple of stretched bands at the bottom. So what I want you to do at the bottom with the body is have the feet facing out and fold the body in half. The stitch that's going sideways at the back, I want you to put your hook through. I am using 8 orange bands. Now, this is where you're going to start. You're going to have to grab 2 stitches on the body and 1 stitch on the head. So what I'm going to do right away is take where I am and the next stitch over. And find the stitch at the back, and I'm going to go through the head. So I'm going to catch the head. So 2 stitches on the body, 1 stitch on the head, and bring your band through all of those stitches. And you're just going to repeat that all the way around. So grab 2 stitches, so you're decreasing on the body, and then single crochet with the head. So just 1 stitch on the head. And bring your band through and through on your hook and side. And then just decrease around. When you get to this part, you should see if your head is straight or not. Bring it through. Decrease. Go through the head. My slip stitch is in the way. And I try it again. And slide, decrease on the body, and a stitch on the head. Decrease, and the stitch on the head. Gonna have to try again. Push the stuffing in. And this is our last stitch, so I'm going to be doing my slip knot and bringing it through all of the bands that are on my hook. So decrease and stitch and bring it through. All the loops, grab the end and slide. Now what I'm going to do is just sew around the neck again, and we are just going to close off our empty pieces here. So I'm going to start at the back, and I'm just going to do like a couple of single crochets around. I don't quite know how many I'm going to do, so what I'm going to do is just go through the back at the back here, and I'm just going to bring these bands down. So just like that. And I'm just going to crochet around. I don't need to do it to every stitch, but I am going to go around. So just kind of closing it off and bringing that last row down. Just crocheting around. So I'm just going to grab some of the stitches just to bring it close together. And in the front, I'm not really concerned, but I am just going to grab some of the stitches around. One way to secure a head on a little bit better too, I'm not grabbing from the top like you could. I'm just kind of grabbing from the side, which was our invisible decreases from the last row in the head. And from here, I'm just going to grab where the hair is on the face right there. Just bring it down and close it off. And I used that stitch already. So I'm just going to grab the next one. And this one, I'm just going to close it off. So I'm just going to do a slip knot. And then you can just hide these little slip knots. Now I'm going to attach our arms, and this is how I usually do it. I'm just going to put them at the sides, find the placement, bring my 3 little sewing bands through, and then tie it off with a slip knot. So I'm going to go through finding the side of the body, and bringing my sewing band through 3 of the loops. Check the placement, turn her around, and just grab the sewing band that I had on the arm and tie it off. And the other one. Find the placement. I kind of went 2 rows down, so I want to do the same. 1 and then 2. Turn it around and grab the sewing band that was on the arm. And bring a single band through. Slip knot. And then you can just hide these sewing bands. I'm just going to go through the arm. And you could do that with the other one. I'm going to sew the hat piece on now. So you kind of want to have it, our position, I'm going to go on kind of an angle here with the 2 leaves to the side, not like this. So just kind of like that. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to use 2 brown bands or whatever color that you would like. And I'm going to bring a band through here by going through with my hook through the stem part in the back and bringing a band through to either side and just kind of remove it off my hook. And I'm going to bring it through a piece of the hair and then do a slip knot with a single band. So what's going to happen is the hat's going to kind of go down like this. So I'm going to pull kind of tight. So going through, holding one end of that band, and then going through part of the hair, keeping in mind that I want to have the hat on a bit of an angle, and catching the other end of that band and just bringing it through. And I'm going to do a little slip knot with this band to secure it. And give it a little pull. So that's why you can use whatever color that you would like. Now I'm going to sew around using 24 orange bands, and I'm going to be doing slip knots to each chain. So I'm going to start at the back, and I'm going to be grabbing the bands right underneath where I see this orange chain here on the hat. If I put it straight down, I'm just going to grab a band that's directly below. You can grab one band or the chain. And trying to go right underneath the chain of the hat, and I'm going to be doing slip knots all the way around. I'm not going to stretch it out flat. I just kind of want to go right directly underneath, grabbing some sort of band that I can, bringing my band through all of the loops on each chain around. And just doing the little slip knots through the hat, grabbing a piece on the hair. And your last band, you're just going to pull a little bit tighter so it can do a slip knot to secure it. Hat, and then just a single band or the chain, whatever you can grab. And then just kind of look at it to make sure that it's not like being stretched over. You just want to have it straight down. And then just go all the way around. And then just kind of fix it up, and you could hide those slip knots in the back. Now, what I want to point out is fixing the body. We want the body to be smaller here, kind of wider here, and the legs put together. And the bottom you want to fix by pulling out the little knots that you have on these orange bands here, just because this is where we changed color. And you just kind of fix that up and then push it together. And on the beads, what you want to do is grab the little knot again and just fix up the little beads in the front area. Now, during filming, I've taken this doll apart so many times that my bands are completely stretched out, but still good enough. So you just want to kind of bring the little knot so that the bead goes into the center. You can fluff up the skirt and fix her around. And she's done. Now I'm going to give you the option to make the little basket. So when you're making it, it's going to just kind of look like this. So it's up to you. I'm using beads and I'm just kind of giving you the little option. If you don't have the tiny little beads, you need 6 green and 6 with the orange or whatever color that you would like. So these are the tiny little e-beads that you are going to need some sort of string to thread them on. So if you don't have them, you can add a little bow. Just an idea, add a little piece. So if you have the beads and you're going to just thread 6 orange bands with the green beads and 6 orange bands with the orange beads. And with your string, you're just going to put it through your band, grab your 2 ends, and then slide your bead through the 2 ends. Put the two ends through, and then just bring it down. So it's a fast little basket that we can make. So once you've done that, we can start with round 1, and it's just 7 single crochets in the magic ring. So I'm going to be using the bottom part of my loom, and I'm going to take my first band and wrap it around the bottom peg 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. And you're going to bring the 7 bands through one at a time. Reaching in, bring your first band through, put the other end on your hook, and bring your top loop over. Bring it to the side. Go back in for your second band to bring through and on your hook, and now bring the top 2 loops over, and then just continue. Going back in and repeat. Band through, top 2 loops over. You can go ahead and attach your stitch marker to that band that's around your hook and remove off the loom. And move your bands around and you should have 7 stitches. For round 2, we're going to increase on every stitch around. So you're going to add 2 bands to each chain. 2, 2, 2, 2, all the way around. At the end of round 2, you're going to have 14 stitches. So going in your first chain, bring 2 bands through one at a time. Go back in that same chain for your second band and slide. And just repeat 2 bands in the next chain. And 2 bands in the next. And continue until you get to your stitch marker. Should have 14 stitches. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. For round 3, we're going to increase on every second stitch. So the pattern is 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. You're going to repeat this 7 times. At the end of round 3, you're going to have 21 stitches. So let's go in our first chain, not where it's getting pulled, and just bring 1 band through. So 1 single crochet. And your next chain, you're going to do your increase, bringing 2 bands through, 1 at a time. Back in. And repeat. 1 and 2 in the next. Back in. And just follow the pattern until you get to the stitch marker. My last chain has 2. So you should have 21 stitches. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. For round 4, I'm going to do 6 single crochets just with the rubber bands, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. On our 7th chain, I'm adding a single crochet with the bead. And then you're just going to repeat 6 single crochets with the rubber band, and on your 7th chain, you're adding the bead. You're just repeating this pattern 3 times. And at the end of round 4, you should still have 21 stitches. So I'm going to go on my first 6 chains just with the rubber band. Just a single crochet. And now on my 7th chain, adding the one with the bead. And I'm just going to continue 6 chains with just the rubber band. And my bead. And I'm going to repeat one more time. When you get to your stitch marker, it's where your bead will be. And remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. For round 5, it's going to be a little bit different. I'm still using 21 bands, so at the end of round 5, you should still have 21 stitches. It's going to start off with 2 single crochets, followed by a single crochet with your bead. Then 6 single crochets with your rubber bands, followed by a single crochet with your bead. And again, 6 single crochets, then your bead. And you're going to end with 4 single crochets. So I'm going to go in my first two chains with just 1 band. And now my chain, I'm going to add my band with the bead. And next I'm going to do 6 single crochets with my bands. And now adding my band with the bead. And now 6 single crochets with the bands. And then my bead, and you should have 4 chains left over. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Just go ahead and add 1 band. Should still have 21 stitches, and remove your stitch marker. For round 6, again I'm using 21 bands. So at the end of round 6, you're going to have 21 stitches. I'm going to start off with 5 single crochets with your rubber bands, followed by your bead, the orange one, so your band with the orange bead. Then you're going to do 6 single crochets with your rubber bands, followed by a band with your orange bead, and then 6 again, followed by a band with your orange bead, and ending with 1 band where your stitch marker is, so 1 single crochet. So let's go with 1 band in our first 5 chains, not where it's getting pulled, 2, chain 3, chain 4, and chain 5. On your 6th, you're adding your band with your orange bead. And now you can just follow the pattern, 6 single crochets with your rubber bands. Adding my bead in the next. And I'm just going to repeat that one. 6 single crochets with your rubber band. I have 2 chains left, so in my second last one, adding my bead, and in my last one, just the 1 single crochet. You should still have 21 stitches, and remove your stitch marker. For round 7, this is the pattern. We're using 21 bands again, still. So at the end of round 7, you're going to have 21 stitches. This will be our last round for this part. So our last band, we're going to do a slip knot and tie it closed. My chain, I could have done a chain attaching here and made a chain. So this is going to be with 11 bands, starting and ending with the orange. You could actually just go ahead and do a chain starting here and then do a slip knot tying here. I'm just going to do it a little bit differently. So I'm going to start off with a single crochet with 1 band, followed by a band with the bead, and then 6, followed by a band with the bead, then 6 again, followed by a band with the bead, and then ending with 5 single crochets. So I'm going to go on my first band stitch, not where it's getting pulled, and bringing my band through. Oops. And then chain 2, adding my band with the bead. Now do 6. Next, your band with the bead, and then 6 again. Band with the bead, and then ending with 5 single crochets. Your last band, forgive me, your last band, you want to do a slip knot to tie it closed. So bring it through all of the loops, grab the end and tie it off. And you can remove your stitch marker. I am just going to hide this little slip knot now, so I'm just going to bring it through my stitch here. So it kind of goes flat, and I'm just going to bring my band through these little stitches that you have inside. And bring it through the next one. And you can just even out your beads if you need to. Just grabbing the little knot and bringing the bead to the center. I'm going to make a chain of 11 now for the handle part, and I'm going to start with a cap band of green, and I am going to cut this off after. Then I'm going to use double bands to make my chain. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, starting with orange and ending with orange. So my cap band, and I am going to use 2 stitch markers to help me hold the chain together. So I'm going to start off with my cap band and wrap it around my hook 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. Now using double bands, you want to go ahead and just make your chain. So this is what you have. So now you're going to take, I'm going to go where my slip knot is, and that's where I'm going to use these 2 chains on either side. So 1 and 2. With my stitch marker, I'm going to attach it to these 2 bands that are on this side of my hook at the end. So just to secure it. I've done it several times that you really don't need to, but just as a precaution, you want to attach it like that and let go. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to use 2 bands for the side of the orange, and I'm going to single crochet in the one hole and the slip knot in the next hole. So going from the inside out, I'm going to bring my band through, grab the end, and slide. Now I'm going to put the chain on my hook, go through the next chain on the basket here, and I'm going to bring my band through all of those loops and tie it closed. So that's what it looks like. And then you could hide this little slip knot. You don't really need this stitch marker anymore. And you can bring your slip knot to the inside and then just bring it through again through your little stitches. And we're going to do that to the same thing to the other side. Now you want to put your hook through as best as you can, have this straight, and you want to put your hook through so that the orange bands are going to be nice and secure on your hook there. So if you put it through the wrong way and you cut that green band, this is all going to fall apart. So put your hook through the orange band so that they're on, and we're going to cut this green cap band off. And then we're going to do the exact same thing what we just did on the other side. So you're going to need 2 orange bands. I'm going to attach a stitch marker to the 2 loops that are at the end here at the tip of my hook. And I'm going to bring it straight across. Make sure that you're straight across in the center here, and pick the 2 stitches that you're going to work with. So I'm going to be right here. I'm going to take this end off my hook, and I'm going to go through my first stitch from the inside out and bring my band through these loops, grab the end and slide. Put your loops back on your hook, go through the inside to the outside on the next stitch over, and you want to secure it, bring it through all the loops and give it a pull. And you can remove that stitch marker and hide that little slip knot. Now, if you wanted to add the little bow, you could just use 3 little bands and just use the bottom part of your loom. I found if you have the loom kind of facing this way, this bow doesn't turn out so twisted all the time. So if you take 2 bands and use the bottom pegs and just put them from the 2 pegs down, and then just go underneath with your hook, bring your band through and grab the other end. Bring your band over to secure. Don't pull too hard right now. Just hold that band and remove off the loom. I don't know, I found having the loom that way really makes a difference on the end results of this bow. And then you can just go from the side, just as I did here. I'm just going to put another one here. Go through maybe the second stitch from the top. Don't go through the top. Bring your band through, and I just went through this first little stitch here and brought it over, and then you can just kind of twist over the bow, go twice. However you want to do, and then you just kind of play with it around. When it's done. If you want, you could secure this to the arm, however you'd like. And she's done.